On the 1-year anniversary of the crime, she admitted that she might be an accessory to murder, but she did not kill anyone. In another conversation, Taylor said she had gotten drugs for Troy Snell and that he owed her money. Taylor said, "It's just like I got my money anyway and 3 dead people, so this isn't funny." She said she didn't know what Palmer had a gun or what kind it was, but she did not think he threw it in the dumpster along with the bloody clothing. That same day, July 19, 2001, LaTanya Taylor was arrested at the Ramada Inn in Nashville. Detective Rick Hall tells us how it all went down.
I was the face of that case, so she knew me when she saw me walk through that door. The breath she turned out, very pale, was physically about to get sick. And that was a planned event. We planned that event out the way it happened. We paid for that room and got those people in that room to get her there to arrest her that morning.
Brooke Nason was also taken into custody, and the pair was placed into a patrol car equipped with audio recording devices. Miss Nason urged Taylor to simply tell what she knew. Taylor replied, "No, are you crazy? You don't realize how long I'm going to jail. I could actually go to the penitentiary. I can't go there." Taylor also said that somebody's running their mouth and wondered if Chris Hines was the lead. She said that if Hines was running his mouth, he's going to be dead. Taylor was not immediately charged with the murders. She was charged with the March 1997 robbery of an Arby's restaurant on Elm Hill Pike in Nashville, where she was an employee. According to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Taylor orchestrated the robbery and was inside when the actual robbery took place. She admitted to splitting $4,000 with 2 accomplices. Following Taylor's arrest, a nationwide hunt for Percy Palmer was initiated, and he was found and arrested at the Blue Spruce Motel in Aurora, Colorado on August 2, 2001. He was living at the motel with his mother, stepfather, and their 3 small children. Palmer was also not immediately charged with the murders. He was returned to Smyrna to face aggravated burglary charges. The arrest of Taylor and Palmer were the 684th and 685th produced by the show America's Most Wanted. Here's how Percy Palmer was tracked down.
Basically, his stepfather had money that was being basically given to him every month, and he was good about forwarding addresses so he could get that check. It wasn't, those are the days when you didn't have direct deposit, you still got physical checks. So he was good about sending that forwarding address to where he wanted that check to go. So we were following them, and we got a lead that he had forwarded his address to his sister, which had been Percy's aunt out there in Aurora, Colorado. So that sent us out there.
Here's a question I asked Detective Rick Hall. If police were investigating Taylor and Palmer for the murders, why were they arrested on lesser charges?
You got to think that case right then was the biggest case that happened, not only in our area, but the whole Middle Tennessee area. We had a Dennis Paul Reed just before that done some murders in Nashville. So the media got their feet wet with these bigger cases. So they were surveilling us. The media was surveilling us, and going behind us and doing little things all the time to try to get an edge over the other people. So yes, we made sure, because they had leads at the court system, that we didn't spook them by taking out homicide charges and trying to get people arrested. And it was mainly on Percy, that he was out in Colorado and we were trying to get him arrested and extradited back here. And he fought extradition out there, so we had to up his charge. We had him on basically a burglary case that we know that he had stolen some audio equipment and furniture out of a girl's apartment and pawned it, and we used that as a felony to get a governor's warrant to get him back. And then he had a sharp attorney out there that figured out what was going on and fought extradition, and we had up the ante.
For their services as informants, Brooke Nason was paid $600 and Chris Hines received $300 along with $1,500 in relocation expenses. She had also expressed her expectation of receiving the reward money in the event of a conviction. On November the 6th, 2001, LaTonya Taylor and Percy Palmer were formally indicted by a grand jury in Rutherford County, Tennessee. It had been 16 months since the triple homicide. Detective Rick Hall and TBI agent Rick Stout presented evidence before the grand jury that led to the sealed indictments. The agents couldn't elaborate to the media on exactly what was presented, saying they could not discuss motive or details due to the pending prosecution. Rick Hall did say, "There was no doubt we were going to get these people. Some people counted us out, didn't think we were going to do it. They didn't have to talk to the families every day." Here's what else he had to say about his grand jury testimony.
I was in there for over an hour, and I basically laid it out from day one of what we had, and the steps we went through. I laid out how we had done America's Most Wanted, and that, we built up these informants, and we rented hotel rooms on 3 different directions, and we sent teams of 3 in there 12 hours shifts for 2 weeks at a time to gain information that we got. And then I laid out that they both, gave statements that they were involved in it, but they pointed the finger at each other as far as the shooter. So, again, as you said, there wasn't a lot of physical evidence there, but we had enough with those confessions and everything else we were able to put together.
Taylor and Palmer were each charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of felony murder, 1 count of especially aggravated robbery, and 3 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping. Bail for each defendant was set at $3 million. Palmer was held in the Rutherford County Jail, while Taylor was held at the Metro Detention Center in Nashville. An arraignment date was set for later that year in the Rutherford County Circuit Court. Along with the excitement of the indictments, a celebration of sorts took place in Smyrna. The detectives had made an agreement that they would not eat at any Captain D's restaurant until the crime was solved. After the indictments were handed down, lead detective Rick Hall, along with Detective Sergeant Mike Brashear and Detectives Jeff Peach and John Lear and TBI Special Agent Rick Stout, made their way to the restaurant on Lowry Street. They were welcomed by manager Wes Mitchell, who paid for their meals. Rick Hall had waited 16 months for a piece of the strawberry cheesecake at Captain D's. Surely, no piece of cake had ever tasted sweeter.
No.
How good was that piece of cake?
It's pretty good. It was really good. I was always a fan of Captain D's. I grew up. Captain D's was one of the few restaurants when I was a kid growing up. We had. I was a kid of the '80s. We cruised Smyrna. We rode up and down all night long, and you had Taco Bell, McDonald's, and Captain D's. They were our big staples here, and I've been there since I was a kid, and that was one of my cheesecake's my favorite, and I liked the Shoney's had a hot fudge cake, and Captain D's had their cheesecake, and I was a fan of both of those. So
there you go.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Cases were.
On November 19th, both defendants waived the formal arraignment, and Judge Don Ash appointed attorneys to represent the defendants. Public Defender Gerald Melton was tapped to lead Palmer's defense, while Herschel Koger from Pulaski would defend Taylor. Both attorneys were certified in capital punishment defense, as it was expected that District Attorney Bill Weitzel would seek the death penalty against both Taylor and Palmer. In January of 2002, that's exactly what happened. The district attorney filed motions to seek the death penalty. In his motion, Weitzel presented 4 factors that led to his decision. First, the defendants committed mass murder, which is classified as the murder of 3 or more persons, whether committed during a single criminal episode or at different times within a 48-month period. Second, the defendants knowingly created a great risk of death to 3 people. Third, the murders were committed for the purpose of avoiding, interfering with, or preventing a lawful arrest or prosecution of the defendants. Finally, The murders were knowingly committed or aided by the defendants after they allegedly committed other murders, robberies, or kidnappings. After the arraignments, reporters combed every record available concerning the defendants. Their lives emerged through the media, and they weren't very flattering. LaTonya Yvonne Taylor was born July 13, 1977, and was known by the nickname Bebe. According to her mother, Taylor loved music and wanted to have her own record company. But early in life, problems began to develop. She was held back in the 3rd, 5th, and 9th grades according to her school records. Her parents divorced during her teenage years, and her behavior became erratic after the divorce. She lived with her father and then ended up in state foster care for a time. She often skipped school to consume alcohol or use drugs. According to DHS records, Taylor had an alcohol problem by the time she was 16. She also incurred numerous juvenile charges, which involved placements at various juvenile detention facilities, as well as the D.D. Wallace Psychiatric Facility. She attended more than 5 high schools before finally dropping out of Antioch High School between the 1993 and 1994 school years. She was a student for the 9th grade in 1992, where her grades on assignments ranged from 51 all the way to 5. After her arrest for the Captain D's murders, she was given a battery of IQ tests. She scored in the 60s. She never obtained a driver's license because she was unable to pass a written test. She bought a car registered in her mother's name, but it was repossessed when she lost her job and failed to make her payments. When she became an adult, Taylor owned and carried a .380 caliber pistol she bought at a pawn shop. She kept the pistol in a backpack along with a change of clothes. She had worked at a variety of short-term employers that included Arby's, Sonic, McDonald's, Lee's Steakhouse, Mrs. Winter's Fried Chicken, and Pizza Hut. She was a cook at the Santa Fe Cattle Company in Hermitage at the time of the murders. She had never worked at Captain D's, but she was certainly familiar with the place. Not only had she dined there, her sister Tiffany worked at the restaurant. Along with her other escapades, including a DUI, Taylor was a known cocaine user and seller. Her sister Tiffany worked at the Smyrna Captain D's. After her arrest, she admitted to TBI agent Rick Stout, "I told Tiffany that if any of the employees that worked up there needed any drugs, that I would sell them." She ran afoul of the Laverne Police Department as a result of her drug dealing. In order to get a deal with the police on one drug charge, she agreed to act as a confidential informant, making drug buys from a person from whom she had been a customer and providing inside information about drug dealing in Davidson and Rutherford counties. In 1997, 3 years before the Captain D's murders, police say a Nashville Arby's was the target of Taylor and her accomplices. The robbery netted more than $4,000. Taylor told the TBI that she set up the robbery and was inside when the incident took place. In an eerie precursor to her later crime, the employees were made to go into the cooler while the restaurant was ransacked. She admitted that she and 2 other people split the robbery money 3 ways. Charges in that crime were pending in Davidson County when Taylor went on trial for the Rutherford County murders. Percy Palmer's existence also mirrored that of LaTonya Taylor. A native of San Bernardino, California, Taylor was 24 when the murders occurred. He had lived in foster care as a child and lived in motels as an adult, constantly on the move. Palmer had several tattoos, one reading Callie and the other Killa. He was known to his acquaintances as Low Down. Palmer was one of 10 children, and other members of his family were no strangers to the criminal justice system. One of his brothers was sentenced to life in prison for wounding two individuals in a string of robberies and a carjacking in Riverside, California in 1996.